Welcome back to another show with your boy Loyal. I'm out here walking, getting my stroll on, walking through the woods and shit. And as I'm walking, I'm noticing things. You know, we think that, you know, everything is put in place for a reason. And I'm coming to the conclusion that it's not, man. Everything is not put in place. Like, everything we see out in nature, I don't think that had nothing to do with natural shit, man. I think that all deals with, man, we make shit the way we want to make it. Nature is not actually natural. It's another fabrication of man. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. Today, man, I done came up with an idea that I'm going to start doing on my show. I'm going to start pointing out all the discrepancies of my people. See, because my people don't really know. I don't think a lot of our people know. And this don't just go for black people. This goes for all people. Don't really know where they at or what they in. And I think we should start this year off, right, with some good understanding. Not keep on running our heads up against the wall. I'm gonna start with my people since it's so, since I'm easy. I'm an open book, so I'm gonna start with my people first. And then as this season comes to an end, I'll finish up. But starting off with my people, I see there's a problem that's going to be coming over the horizon with black people claiming to be Indians and Aboriginals. I see a problem, appearing over the horizon. It's going to be a problem because just like everything else that we do, thinking that it's from our own mind and our own thoughts, it's really not. It's from somebody else's thoughts. It's from somebody else's ideas. The Aboriginal and the Indian movement, in my opinion, is a psyop. It's a setup. And it's a setup to get people to forget who they are and where they at. See? And that's for a reason, man. It's because if they can get you to forget where you are and who you are and where you're at, then they can place you anywhere they want to place you. And that's what they've been doing for the past couple hundred years, is placing American black people wherever they want to place them. Places in Africa, places in Haiti, the Caribbean, Jamaica, even Hawaii. They place us all over the place, anywhere but here. Is that, a coincidence? I don't think so. I think that there's a push by a group of people to displace a large group of people. And it's working. Because 10 years ago, I never heard anything about no Aboriginals or Indian. I heard people talking about black people having Indian in their family, but never the whole fucking family being Indians or, some type of tribe or something like that. I tried to get on board with that because I saw how motivated our people was to be, to find out who they were. And I was thinking that maybe this is the door to an area that we hadn't seen before. But this is not a door to what we haven't seen before. This is not even close to something we haven't seen before. This is exactly what we've seen. And see, this is the reason why I'm saying this is because we're starting the cycle right back over again, like we did, damn near 70, 80 years ago. Before we were called, what we're called today, we were calling ourselves all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Just like we do, with these games, Pyrus and naming ourselves after the streets. That's not our exact name, but we wear that like it's a badge of honor or like it's a label. And see, just like the gangs were started off positive and then slowly but surely became negative, man, the same shit's gonna happen with this Aboriginal and Indian thing. We gotta realize that these are businesses. These are not actual peoples. These are businesses that are created. All the gangs, all the West Coast gangs and East Coast and Midwest gangs, every one of them, I don't care what the gang is, what history they taught you about the gang, they're all corporate, they're all businesses. And see, what the people that participated in these gangs didn't know is that their so-called leaders were being funded by the government under the guise that they were going to give equity back to these neighborhoods, back to these areas, that are impoverished. The gangs pretty much were like associations and societies, like the Salvation Army and the VFW. That's what the gangs were. And slowly but surely, they became negative. And you don't want to know why they became negative, because you would see the same thing in what's happening right now to the Indian and Aboriginal communities. If you want to claim these things, just realize what you're claiming. You're not claiming a heritage. You're not claiming what they want to call a culture. If you want to avoid that's what you're not claiming. Let our experts guide you. And the reason why you're not claiming that is because you need to see what they see. When these people start these associations, these tribes, or these gangs, because that's what these are. These aren't tribes. These tribes ain't nothing but gangs. The same way we got the Crips and Bloods in California, pretty much all through the United States, tell you the truth. That's what these tribes are. And at one time, instead of calling themselves gangs, they were calling themselves tribes. The Cherokee, the Blackfoot, all of this shit was all gang shit. That's what all of this shit is. And the only people that was receiving benefits from this were the so-called leaders. And we think that they were receiving benefits because, the gang members were working for them. No, they were receiving benefit and funding from the United States government, from state government. California has so many records of gangs and neighborhoods starting businesses under the guise of their gangs and their colors that you couldn't believe it. And you knew that the hood you was claiming was actually a business and you weren't getting any of the money from the business that was being done, then you would feel weird about being in that gang. But most of the people that's in the gang don't even realize that these people were filing taxes on their behalf. They thought that, I'm down with the hood. No, man, you joined a club. You joined an organization. The Crips was one of the biggest organizations in California at one time. They still are, but under different types of names right now. All the Crips in California were under one charter, were under one business name. And that one business name was being ran by one person. And you wonder why they move so fast and so hard against. Let me turn this shit down. Them damn birds is fucking with me. But yeah, they went ahead and locked them fools up. Because you don't realize the Crips and the Bloods, you know how they say that black people make up 14% of the country's people, right? Out of 100%, we're 14%. But in actuality, it's more than that. They were only counting the entities. They're only counting the organizations, people that are organized. They're not counting the individuals. Imagine how many people did the census last year. I mean, I didn't do the census. There was nobody coming around my house asking me to sign up on some census papers and shit. They wouldn't. There's a lot of people that go through this. Hundreds of thousands, even millions of people that don't get counted. So how did they come up with this 14%? These are all organizations where these organizations have a charter, have a list of members. You better bet your last dollar that the Crips filed on the census saying that they have so many people in their club. That way they don't have to go door to door and look for people. All they got to do is go to these organizations and say how many members you got, and then say how many people are in this vicinity. And then they can just guesstimate on how many people. That's what these rolls and shit were for. These rolls were not to claim or to prove that you were an Indian. They were to keep track of these people that are in these clubs. These rolls, right, are of people that have already been counted on the census already. You see what I'm saying? If you were part of a Cherokee or Indian rolls, guess what? Being part of the Indian rolls and the Cherokee and all that shit just means that you're just another group of people we can count as being a member of this club. And then we can come back around and count you again as a separate unit, because we don't realize that these people are counting these businesses as people. See, they created something back in the 1800s called personhood. Personhood was a term that was used to describe something that's not alive, an inanimate object, or a description of some type of being that's not actually alive. But on paper, it's alive. And that's what they were counting. They were counting this shit, and they were also double dipping. Because what you don't understand is that these people were getting paid for the amount of people that were in their clubs, for the members in their clubs. And they're still getting it to today. Some of the leaders of these gangs in these cities, let's take the vice lords for instance. I don't know too much about them, but I can tell you, I guarantee they have a membership club, and they have a list of all their members. And when they file taxes every 3 years, and see, they don't do it like we do. They file taxes every 3 years. They get what they call a tax deduction. Some of those deductions are, that you can file for a refund, and a lot of those deductions are to make you tax exempt. Now imagine, right, the Crips getting a tax exemption for 1,000 members. Now, why would they need a tax exemption, first of all? And this is what people are having a hard time understanding. They need a tax exemption for when they purchase their devices, their items. We wonder how these gang members are getting guns. We wonder how they get cars, houses, are able to have bank accounts just like regular people and shit. These people ain't hiding their money up under a bed. These people are working Joes just like you. They just fall up under this system that they created, and that's in their environment that they can function in. And these gangs are functioning corporations. They have a president, which is the leader, and they have a vice president, so on and so forth, just like every other business in America. Now, we wonder why gangs don't just go away. People say gangs cause all kind of problems, right? Why don't people just stop joining the gangs and they just go away? Well, there's a reason for that. You can never resolve or dissolve a corporation. So even if the gangs are deserted and they have no members, these things are still on the books. They still on the books. And after a certain amount of time, usually about 3 years, 3 to 6 years, if there's no members filing on behalf of that gang, the gang goes into a probate mode. It goes into an unmanned, unclaimed association or organization that later on can be picked up. And right now, that's what the Indian and Aboriginal communities are. These Aboriginal communities that we see today were old from back in the day. The people that are leading these Aboriginal communities and starting these tribes are people that found out that these organizations are still on the books and can be reopened and refiled as organizations like carry-ons. And guess what? All the assets of that business now fall to them. Y'all better look into this shit, man. I'm not lying, bro. These Aboriginals and these Indian organizations, they are old corporations that have been left behind by people and now are being opened back up. You can open up an old business that's been closed in the system for 50 years. You can start it back up. And guess what? Since it's in the system, it's going to be easy for you to get funding, to get reparations, to get reprieve. And that's what these guys are doing. They're using y'all, man. The Aboriginals and the Indians are using y'all. They're using us to open up these old businesses so they can claim the freaking assets of these old businesses. The Crips and the Bloods in California. We thought that all of these areas that the Crips and Bloods was running in have been gentrified. Guess what? They haven't. The gentrification is them actually opening up the old books on these gangs and reclaiming these areas. You think these people came in and bought up all the properties in these old neighborhoods where it's all fucked up? Hell no, they didn't. They came in, saw who was in control of it, and then claimed that they are the people on that list that's controlling these properties. We see it as being gentrification, the rich people coming in and buying up all the property. Y'all better check again, man. People done got smarter in these past 50 years. They know that all of this property just don't go. Just when people die off and leave the property, it does not go away. Its name's up under this shit. So what I'm putting out right now is, people, y'all have the ability to claim this stuff for yourself. There's hundreds of thousands of businesses in these gangs' name. In the Crips and the Bloods, the Pyrus, in the names of these gangs, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of business names. And I'm not lying. They even have the start date and the end date. You gotta go and you gotta look at your county clerk's office to find out these corporation names under the names of these gangs. I don't know how many names I've been told that the Crips have, and they think how much property they own in these neighborhoods in California. And then there's people that are coming back and taking claim of this shit. Now, these people that are taking claim of this shit, they not out on the streets with gang affiliation clothes and, doing videos and throwing up gang signs and banging and stuff. No, these are business people. And they look just like you and me. They were what you would call a silent partner. And these people are in the background running these gangs like a business. But we're on the street running them like they're clubs, like they're freaking, battlegrounds or some shit like that. See, if people really knew what these gangs are, they wouldn't work in them like thugs. They would work in them like businessmen, because that's what they are. I can't tell people how much shit is going on behind the scenes with these gangs. It's up to you to go and look in your own area. These gangs are in control of large portions of property, and they have to wait after so long to petition to take control of these properties. It's like a 3 to 6 years, maybe 9-year period that these people have when these businesses close down to reopen them up. If they don't, then they go in lockdown. And since nobody, they usually what they do is they take the assets of a corporation once it's dissolved, and they split the assets amongst other corporations in the area. But when the business just stops, meaning that the leaders get knocked off, the members quit, people leave the area, these businesses stay open. They stay voided open. And so they can't just take the assets and just give them to all the other corporations, because it takes an individual to come along and say, yes, these assets belong to the corporations. We're gonna spread it out. But until then, that shit stays in probate until somebody comes up there and claim it. And you gotta have an organization already established to claim it. Why do you think we got all of these Crip names and these blood names of these hoods and shit that don't match the damn streets and the neighborhoods they live in? These are organizations that are refiled freshly to claim something that was already set up in the old. These businesses, these gangs, man, are businesses. And if your neighborhood or your city is being gentrified, just know this: it ain't some white businessman that's opening up new shit on these properties. These are gang members that found out that they can claim the gang as a business. And it's already open. All they got to do is file the right paperwork, have the right number of people petition, and to claim the name. And we're sitting around here thinking that these people are down with the hood. They're not down with your hood. These people are using your hood. See, because they know the gangs bought up a lot of houses, a lot of properties, a lot of businesses. And what happens when these people go to jail? All of that shit gets turned back over to the state. But see, they didn't tell us that the way it got turned out back over to the state is under probate, being held for somebody to come up, a legitimate businessman, to come up and claim it. And see, it can't be claimed by some foreigner or by somebody that never were involved. And see, that's why all of these people claiming their family lineage so they can take a piece of these properties, take a piece of these businesses for themselves. And everybody else is just in the dark. They don't even realize what's going on. See, and that's what the Aboriginal and Indian communities are doing. These people are claiming shit that had already been in place. We think Aboriginal, that name that describes a certain type of people, just existed in the United States. There's so many corporations under the name of Aboriginal, under the name of Indian, at that, to say that. And then not to mention all the other little subsection names like Cherokee, Blackfoot, Algonquin. You know what I'm saying? These names right there are just different categories of that business. And these people are coming back and claiming it. Look how many people done died since corporations began, and none of the corporations were resolved. None of them. That means that these corporations are still open. You can go and claim them. You think these people are doing genealogy for kicks or to find out about their ancestors? They not. They doing this for money. They doing this for property. And when you get people that do your genealogy for you, guess what you do? You got to pay them. And guess what they claim you as? They claim you as a dependent because you paying them, because you depending on them to do your genealogy. You can do that shit yourself, but ain't no money in it when you do it for yourself. Not unless you're going to claim one of these corporations. Anybody in the Aboriginal community right now that's doing genealogy has a stake in one of these corporations that were once called Indian. I'm telling you, man, these people are using us. They are not freaking trying to help you find your family lineage. They are trying to get as many people as they can to fall up under their banner so they can go out and claim these assets that these Indian people own. This is the land that they talking about that was stolen from them. This is all corporate land. It ain't fucking public land. The land that these people are talking about that was stolen from them, it's all business land. And as soon as they get it, the first thing they're going to do is refurbish it. And we calling it gentrification. These are black people coming back, found out that their black relatives were in the lead of these gangs or these corporations, and now they're trying to go back and claim it. Everybody ain't gonna get a piece of that shit. You know why? Because they're not allowing people to know this shit is like that. I'm telling you, why you think only certain people are in control of these gangs? Why can't everybody be in control of them? Because everybody don't know that when you want to be in control of a gang, you got to file paperwork with the government to be in control of a gang. You got to go down there and you got to file paperwork. Just like when you start a business and you getting a business license, that's exactly what you got to do for these gangs. You want to be the leader of the Crips? Go to your county clerk's office and have them do a search on Crip corporations in the area. It's going to come back. It's going to be acronyms like CRIP, means something else, just like we do anyway. When we talk about Crips are, crazy, retarded individual people. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. But these organizations exist. They're actual businesses. And when you get your license and you take control of these businesses, you'll find out how many assets fall up under them. Some of these neighborhoods are owned by the Crips. I mean, every fucking house on the block is owned by them. People think they renting them from fucking, landlords. These are just property managers that's collecting your money. And the reason why they so hard up with collecting their money because that's their livelihood. I'd be hard up too if you living somewhere where I work and you ain't paying for me to work there. So this is exactly why, people are dying, like the gang members out there shooting each other and killing each other for what? For a business. And when they find that shit out, guess what they do? They like, I don't know too much about this shit. I don't want to be part of it no more. But you can't just leave it. You cannot leave the gang once you have been counted as one of their members. You cannot leave the gang. The only way to leave the gang is to file a rescission with the gang leader, with the corporation. That's the only way. And see, they don't even teach people about filling out rescission letters. And these things go to the county clerk's office, and that's put on record that you're no longer a part of this gang. And what that'll do is knock down their membership. And see, if you can't be counted by law, legally, then you can't be counted on the streets either. They don't want people to know this. If you go and get paperwork saying you're not in the gang no more, which is the paperwork that you sign as a rescission letter, because they give you a receipt, the gangs can't claim you. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to respect it. I'm saying that they're going to recognize it as being, one member down. I'm telling you, man, we think that these businesses are just like, McDonald's or something. They are just like it for the most part, but they not hiring people. They tricking people. When you join a gang, they not telling you that you on the payroll and that you getting money from the government. They not telling people that. They telling them, are you down with the hood? You gonna wear your flag and you gonna protect the hood from outsiders and shit like that. And you gonna run errands for the gang leaders. No, that's the stupid people. That's for the low-level minions, the low-level slaves that they have working for them to do their bidding and shit. But for the people that's in the know, they don't want too many of them. Less is more to them. They don't want too many people to know that if I go down to this office here, and if one of my relatives was in a high position in this gang, I can boot the fucking leader off of this, paperwork-wise. Because if he was just a low-level nigga, his family member was a low-level nigga, and he just found out that he could claim it and take over the gang and be a leader, then you have more priority than him. Because your family, if they were up in the higher echelons of the gang, they have paperwork with their name on it saying that they are. Just like these Indian rolls and shit. You ever wonder why some of these people call themselves chiefs that make up these fucking tribes? And look, they stay chiefs all time. It ain't no fucking monopoly in the corporation. I mean, it's a monopoly in the corporation. It's not a democracy in the corporation, I meant. See, you don't get to vote for who your leader gonna be. Your leader is the person whose name is on the paperwork that says that they are the leader or the chief of the tribe or the gang. That's how this shit works. So when you're doing your genealogy, you better believe that the person that's doing it for you and you paying them is claiming you as a dependent because you're dependent on them to find your shit. And if they come to find out that you were one of the higher level people, like a chief, like your family had a chief in it, then they don't want to register your shit as like theirs, because there's probably wouldn't be a chief. The only way you can be a chief in the Indian tribe is if you file the paperwork first. You know how they say they having these elections in the tribe and shit like that? No, it's not elections. It's selections. Just like in our presidency. You can't elect just no average motherfucker off the street. See? Because this average motherfucker ain't gonna fall in line and do what you tell him to do. And on the public stage, you can't take no fucking chances like that to have one of your members to turn over all the shit that they're doing. See, if somebody just off the street ran for president, he would expose all the bullshit that these people are doing in the government. So they're not gonna hire somebody off the street. They already got somebody they've been molding, training, they've been observing them, making sure that these people are trustworthy, at least trustworthy to their goals and missions. And when they feel all warm and fuzzy for that, they put them right in the position. They're gonna be president. Trump could have been president a long time ago. When Oprah Winfrey was asking him, are you gonna run for president? She knew that he was one of the people that they were grooming for the presidency way when he was a fucking kid in that military academy. His family was already in the game. See, America is a land. United States is a corporation on the land, i.e. a gang on the land, a gang in the neighborhood. See, one of the biggest gangs in the world. That's what the United States is. And they filed charter with one of the biggest charter corporations in the world. The same one that recognizes all of the shipping companies. That's the one that the United States fell up under. And that's owned by America. The East Indian Trading Company was the biggest registry in the world. The East Indian Trading Company, right, was the biggest gang. So when gangs became no longer popular, or tribes became no longer popular, they turned it into a registry. So instead of them going out doing the dirt, now they take record of people going out and doing it for them. And that's what the United States is. And the United States have minions up under them, all the other little corporations and gangs up under them. Some of the gangs and corporations are professional, some of them are not. And what we deal on at this level is the unprofessional ones. And see, they can't just let anybody into these organizations and be leaders and shit. If you ever wonder how these people become gang leaders and they're so fucking dumb and they don't have no managerial skills, they asking their members to do unrealistic shit. Now you know how. See, because look, the knowledge will fall to some deviants too as well. And that's why all of these people fall in at, these grifters, these people that want to be so-called leaders and cult members. Anytime somebody comes at you and all they talk about is culture, is about, heritage and shit like that, you better check and make sure that you know everything about yours and everything about theirs, because They can trick you with theirs. They can trick you with theirs and steal yours. See, we don't realize that culture don't mean what you wear, the dances you do, the music you make, the food you cook. It ain't got shit to do with that. Culture means land, and a certain type of land. It's developed land. That's what culture means, to develop land. So when somebody says they're trying to steal our culture, they're trying to steal our developed land. Not the shit that's out there with all the woods, and that's public land. That's land where anybody can go and just hang out and do what the fuck they want to do, but they can't stay there. They got to go back home. Culture involves land that's already paid for, land that's already developed. So when you come on my developed land, you're experiencing my culture, my stores, all the shit that I built, my food, everything I built. That has something to do with the land. Now everything else that we say is culture, yeah, that's what we get to draw you in. Because see, the only way you can have a solid culture is if you have people working the land. And see, if the land's already developed, it has buildings on it, it has businesses and shit. Now all you have to do is run the businesses. You know what I'm saying? Maintain the buildings. That's culture right there. That's maintaining your culture. Agro, right, means plants. When you put agro and culture together to make agriculture, now you're putting plants on developed land, farmland. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with horticulture or herbiculture. All that shit means is you're putting something, animals, plants, buildings, shops, people on the land. That's all you're doing. Not free land for everybody. See, because all the land couldn't be owned. If all the land in America is owned, it would disrupt the organization that's set up here. All that public land had to be free for everybody to establish. It's like a safe haven. And that's why these people set up these organizations where they could go to these safe havens and be protected from other corporations. See, we don't have the gist of this shit because we get caught up in the emotional side of it. We get caught up in the side of this shit that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. They start talking about the ancestors, and they start talking about food. Then they throw this one in there. You're not like me because you do this and you do that different, when that has nothing to do with culture. Nothing to do with it. The reason why today the American blacks and the Africans are feuding with each other is because guess what? The Africans knew about this shit and they were coming over here and claiming it in our name. They were like, hey, I look like him. I talk like him. I claim to be him. I can run his organization. That's why a lot of these businesses, a lot of these gangs, man, are being ran by foreigners. Y'all don't even realize it. Most, if not all, the Crip gangs are being ran by foreigners, people that weren't born here. Same thing with the Bloods and the Pyrus and the Disciples and the Vice Lords. All of these gangs are being ran by foreign people. You will never see them. They don't want to associate with you. All they want to do is claim you. That's it. And see, we're falling right into the trap because you know why? We're volunteering to be claimed. You don't want to be called an Indian. I'm telling you, because an Indian is a foreigner. But we steadily calling each other Indians. And these different types of weird ass names, Cherokee, Choctaw. I fell into that shit too. But until I found out that, hey, man, this Choctaw nation right here is an organization. It ain't a nation, it's an organization. Did they mess up on this? And I'm like, my people are part of this. I got people that's part of the Choctaw Nation. But in reality, they were part of the Choctaw organization. Yeah, and they didn't even. Nobody even knows about this. When I talk to my peoples about it, they're like, yeah, we was claiming Choctaw. And I asked them, I say, so is that our people? Yeah, that's our people. Well, then how are you claiming your people? You see what I'm saying? We're American first. That's what matters. Everything else is secondary to that. They're trying to make you stateless. They're trying to make you stateless. You see what happened when the Mongols and the foreigners joined these tribes. Guess what happened to them? They weren't allowed to claim shit. They weren't allowed to claim no land. They were only given land that's the undesirable land that nobody wanted to work on, the reserve land, which is part of the public land. If you didn't realize that tribal land is public land, something is wrong with you. You should go back to your tribal leader or your chief or whoever the fuck he called himself and ask him, why is tribal land, why are reserves public land? You ever wonder why you can go on these reserves and go to their casinos? You don't got to pay nothing to get there. It's against the law for them to charge you to get on public land unless it's under the state's control. So guess what they do? Instead of making it a national park and a casino in a national park, where now the United States government has to be involved, they make it open to the public and only claim the buildings. That's what they do. So guess what? These people don't have no trades. They don't have no way of organizing businesses. So guess what? They run gambling houses. See? And they learn that shit from us. All of these fucking games that they playing up in these casinos are all, a branch of the running numbers game. That's what this shit is. Running numbers, the lottery. They got all of that shit from the people that were already here. Because, see, that's how they spread around the resources back in the day. See? When you don't have people running the show and you got poor people in your neighborhood, you know what they used to do? They used to have little lotteries for the poor people. So out of the 15 people in this colony right here, 5 of them are poor. They don't have shit. So guess what? The 15 all chip in and create a lottery. So one of those 5 people can get their shit together and get back up there with the other 10. And then that's how they rebuild their society. That's how they keep their society going. That's how they kept it so no poor people existed back then. Now the lottery is the house always wins. It ain't got shit to do with helping people. Gambling back in the day used to be for poor people, not for rich people. Rich people were not allowed to gamble. See, rich people were the gamblers that created the games for the poor people. If you want to be rich, but you don't have the know-how to do it, we created a game. So if you get lucky, you can get some money and you can become one of us and we can help some other poor people. Over time, out of those 15 people, they very rarely have anybody poor in their communities. You know why? Because after going through the lottery for over a decade, they done pulled every family up out of the fucking, out of the dirt and made them one of them. And see, with that came training and all kind of shit. So now we're at an impasse right now. We're at a point in history where we either got to start this shit back over, and that's what they doing. We done started it back over. If the tribes were the oldest things on this land, right? That means that they were the oldest built businesses on this land. When the tribes got left behind, guess what? Those businesses were still active. They were still active. People was like, we don't want to run tribes no more. We want to run corporations. Now they've run corporations. Tribes are the corporations. Now they want to do something else. So they done went from tribal corporations. Now they want to go to corporate exploration. Corporate exploration is we're getting back into the age where people are going to start exploring again. That's what they're trying to do. They're getting ready to explore. Because, see, ain't nothing on this land right now that they can fucking find. So guess what they trying to do? They trying to introduce in alien activity. See, all they're trying to do is open the door for them so they can start exploring outside of this bitch. That's what they trying to do. But they don't want us to do that. Because, see, now people are starting to get rich, and these things are going to be possible for everybody. So they want to keep as many people as they can scared and afraid of the outside world, of outer space. So guess what they doing? They play these games with us with aliens and fucking spaceships. And that's what all this drone shit is about. You hear Donald Trump talking about he want to be able to go to Mars by the end of his, his tour of his fucking presidency. We're talking about 4 years, nigga. We ain't even been back to the moon in 60. And you talking about going to Mars. Mars ain't in outer space. Mars ain't in outer space. Mars is right on this plane with us. These niggas trying to open the door for themselves, and they trying to rally as many of themselves as possible because they know it's going to be a long and arduous trip. It's going to be a long trip. See, you think they write about this shit in the Bible. They did. They wrote about the 40-year trip that them motherfuckers took. You think them people was out there walking in the desert? You think them animals was just out there walking in circles? Animals do that shit, but they were led by people. The people walked for 40 years. 40 years, not in no one place. Man, in 40 years, bro, you could cover the whole United States back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You've been to learn every crack and crevice, every sinkhole, every pond, every lake, every sea. You learn every fucking thing about this land. There was no way these people could have been wandering around that much. And then wandering around starving. Bro, I don't give a damn, where you at in the tundra. You're gonna run across an animal. You're gonna run across a plant. There's no way these people gotta pick up the fucking yeast off the ground to eat for food, unless this shit is somewhere where plants don't grow. Only bacteria and yeast and shit. That's what that manna was. You think manna was bread from God? That was them describing it because it saved their fucking life. Imagine walking through or traveling through the wilderness and there's no plants, no animals. The only thing that's recurring and that's substance is yeast that settles and lays on the ground every day. Yeast. And you eat that shit. That's why these people don't want to have, that's why these Jewish people don't like yeast. They've been forced to eat it for 40 years, nigga. They've been forced to eat that shit for 40 years. That's a whole lot of stories about these people traveling for 40 years, like the herds, like the animals and shit. But they not traveling here in our world. They was traveling from another world to our world. The space in between these worlds is where they was traveling at, and it took them 40 years to get from one space to this space. So they want to remember that. And at the same time, by remembering it, they keep a map to where they came from. That's what this shit is all about. This shit is not about religion and spirituality. This shit is not about that. They don't give a fuck about your soul. They don't give a fuck about your spirit. They know when motherfuckers die, they come back to this place. All they worrying about is advancement. They worried about advancement because they know the natural order of things is set in stone. It's irremovable. All men of any race, right, when they pass, come back as that man in that race. But see, we don't see that because we only look at babies being born and they gotta grow. Another thing is, if you got groups of people that know this and they're all jockeying for position, right? then they're going to be going against each other, trying to remove the status from the other group. You know how we say the Rockefellers is running shit, you know, and all these other fucking families. These are compete. Rockefeller is not a family name. See, we turned it into a family name, but that's just a fucking company name. Rockefeller. Just like every other name, like Tesla. Tesla is not the name of a person that created electrical devices. Tesla is a company. That's why Elon Musk was able to turn that bitch into a company without having any fucking pushback on the people of the name. Unless all of Tesla's family is gone or they all dead, you know, and haven't been reinducted back into, you know, the entity. And what I mean by that is this right here. There was a reason why they used to keep the names of their family in books and shit, you know, family trees, because these people were coming back into the family after death. All of that shit is recurring. There's nothing new under the sun. A person that dies returns back to life. That's what all of this shit is about. See, and we got to realize that a way we can protect our stake in it. If we're not protecting our stake in it, and they drive your people out of this shit, your people are nomadic. They become gypsies. They become people of with no statehood, with no land. You think the Israeli people had a stake in this on the land? If they did, they wouldn't have to have claimed it back in 1930s. They wouldn't have to have created it back in the 1930s. See, if it was already set in stone, like a lot of these names are already set in stone, like America, Eurasia, all of that shit was set in stone way before any of these other names were created, like Africa, China, Japan, Russia. You know what I'm saying? In my lifetime, Russia, Asia, all of that shit was the USSR. You ever wonder how they broke that shit up and was able to create all these different countries in it? Because at one time, all that shit was together. They figured they could break it up because they were having strife amongst the gangs. What now they call nations. And guess who was the biggest one making all the fucking fuss? Israel. See? It's because they didn't have nothing here. They needed something here in order to make their stake in it. The Palestinian people ain't fighting Israel for that dirt over there and them rocks and shit. They don't give a fuck about that stuff. They fighting them for their position. See, because if Israel come along, push these people off the land, kill off their fucking family members, disrupt their cycle of leaving and coming into this life, into that land, they can displace these people forever. Because they're going to be reborn, but they don't want to be reborn in America. See what I'm saying? They want to be reborn back over there where they've been all them years. But they're like, nah, nobody's safe. Nobody's safe from the disruption. Nobody. And they're doing the same thing over here in America. Y'all black people, y'all don't realize that they trying to pull y'all off of your American land and your American name to put you somewhere else. If you think it's a coincidence, they want you to call yourself an Indian and then they got a place called India? Come on, man. We can't be that stupid to not know this. They want you to call yourself an Indian and they got a place called India. See what I'm saying? They got a place called Egyptians, right? They got a place called Egypt for the Egyptians. They got a place for every group of people. And if they don't, you are considered a native. See? The land that they got us claiming right now, talking about we Indians, is the land called India, not America. See, because the people from America would be called what? American, right? not American Indian, saying like you got dual, like you got some kind of dual citizenship. See, all of this shit matters, man. All of this shit matters. When you die, take your last breath, it's gonna feel like your rebirth is gonna be like the snap of a finger. That's what it's gonna seem like. But you're not. That's not gonna happen if you don't even know where you're from. It's like, I mean, an egg ain't gonna fucking produce a chicken if it was laid by a snake. See what I'm saying? It's not gonna do that. A man ain't gonna fucking be reborn as a woman. That's contradictory to the natural order of things. You know, read the natural laws, so you'll find out what I'm saying. You can't get beyond those natural laws. You know, the law of correspondence is one of them. When you correspond with somebody, you identify as that person that's corresponding with that other person who identifies as that. The law of correspondence is clear. You can't be somebody else at the same time. And these people are trying to corrupt that. Stop letting them pull you away from who you actually are. Black people over here that was born over here are Americans, not Indians, not fucking Aboriginals. None of that shit. None of that shit. They're Americans. How we Aboriginals when they got a people over in Australia, right? Australia is like another word for Aboriginal. Why do they have a whole people in Aboriginal land called Aboriginal, but we over here in America calling ourselves them? And we don't realize why we ain't getting no respect. Because they ain't got to respect you when you're a dummy. When you're a dummy and you don't know who you are and where you're from, they treat you the way any way you want to be treated, except for the right way. See? Because you ain't got nothing backing you. You ain't got nothing backing you. You ain't over in the place that you claiming. Indians supposed to be over in India. Aboriginals supposed to be over in Africa, in freaking people. Because you don't know no better. If you knew better, you wouldn't claim that shit. See? And the truth is this. You ain't getting nothing out of claiming it. Nothing. Ain't nobody that claimed Aboriginal that traced their family back to America as an Indian got anything out of that. They'll lie and say, yeah, we got our family land back. You a lying ass motherfucker. You went out and bought that land. Just like everybody else in America that got land. Bought that shit. See? You went out and bought that shit. They made you buy it. There's no other way of getting it. You can't kick nobody off something they bought. I don't give a fuck if you say your family, you got graves out there. You still can't kick these people out. Don't let these motherfuckers fool you. It's 2025. It's time to take back your own thinking processes and stop letting people capitalize off of you. All people that are claiming to be Indians are being used by individuals from their communities that want to take over these corporations that once was running America, but now have been put to sleep because most of the members gave up on the corporate entity or died off, and nobody from their families went back and traced their corporate lineage and reclaimed the position. You know, you can't run a corporation if your family doesn't have something to do with it, unless you created it yourself. They're not just going to hire some janitor off the street to come and run the corporation. No, he has to have some type of attachment to it. And that's what this shit is. Salute, Zay. Yeah, I'm about to wrap this shit up here in about 1 minute because about an hour. But yeah, they cannot freaking run this shit. They are telling people to claim Indians so they can be put on a roll, a list, so they can say these are all of my members. And I am petitioning to retake the corporate entity name in this location. That's what they doing. That's all they doing. You got these people out here like these people calling themselves aboriginals and Indians and chiefs and shit. All of these people are deceptive. They know exactly who they need on their team. They need as many people as they can to be part of their petition to reclaim this shit. And then when you claim it, you can call it whatever you want. But they got to be attached to one of these main corporate entities. And this is what they're not telling you. People like Sister Bethy, Aboriginal Power, all these people that's claiming that they fucking tribes, chiefs and shit like that are just lackeys that found out the truth about this fucking Indian shit. That it ain't nothing but a business. And 9 times out of 10, it's a foreign business. It's not even from this land. Same thing with the Crips and the Bloods and these fucking gangs in the Midwest, like the Disciples and the Vice Lords and shit like that. These people, all these gangs are being ran by foreigners that read our history and read our trade manuals on about fucking how this system works. And they're coming over here and they're falling in line with these positions. If there's a foreigner that's in politics right now, you better believe this motherfucker know about the history of corporate entities in America. That's why they come over here. It's so easy. It's so easy. There was a business class, a trade class, and a working class, and then there was what they would call a benefactor class. See? And the benefactor class was more black people than there were any other race of people. See, what happens when you're a benefactor? You collect the benefits. From what? From your corporate entity. See, and since you're an American, every corporate entity pays homage to you. Just like up in Alaska right now. Them people getting money every month. They call it a welfare check. But that's a check for these corporate entities over there drilling the oil on the land that they live on. Not the land that they own, the land that they live on. See, because anybody in America can claim that shit. Go out there to Alaska and they'll pay you a welfare check every month. And guess what? You don't have to work. You become a benefactor. They do the same thing in America right now in the form of pensions and annuities, retirements. You think a motherfucker worked for 20 years, that's enough to get paid for the rest of his life? Y'all stupid. Y'all stupid. The retirement fund is a benefactor fund. And it doesn't come from all the work you did over 20 years. That comes because you're an American. And then there's a benefactor clause for Americans. That if you do certain jobs for a period of time, you exchange your time for a period of time, they'll give you that benefit for the rest of your life. And guess what? Those are the jobs that the Indians don't want. Those are the jobs that the Indians turn their nose up to. Because you know why? They've been fooled. They've been tricked. Y'all been tricked to work for the rest of your life. Even if it is for yourself. Nigga, if you got to wake up every day and go and toil for some money from somebody else, then you a slave. And y'all don't want to hear that shit. Even if you do got your own business, you still slaving. You just slaving for yourself. And you ain't got no pension unless you take all your earnings from your slaving and save them up, every penny. And that's a finite amount. Not unless you put it into the system and let the system run it. That's how it's supposed to be done. You don't want to run this shit. This shit is a bureaucracy. It's a mess. Only messy people want to run messy shit. See, I don't want to run the government. I just wanted to work for them long enough to receive my benefit. And I receive that benefit for the rest of my fucking life. And fuck the government after that. I ain't got no problem with them. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. Receive my benefit, and I'll never lose that for the rest of my life. I'll get paid for the rest of my life. There's not too many people that can say that they did that for an exchange of time. There is a lot, but there's not too many. We're all supposed to do that. We're all supposed to be fucking either veterans or, retired statesmen and fucking retired service members and shit like that. We're all supposed to be that because we're Americans. We're supposed to benefit from our title. But we let other people benefit from it. The working class is a group of people that don't have benefit. They got to work for their benefit. And now we've become the working class by choice. We used to make fun of this shit back in the day, talking about dads that didn't want to stay at home and deadbeat dads and shit, and the mothers receiving welfare. They ain't nothing but welfare hoes. Man, that's your benefit. Where do you go in this world where people pay you to have kids? What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Claim your benefit, man. Stop being a fucking squirrel in a tree or a rat in a cage or a hamster on the wheel. Stop doing that shit to yourself because other people want to be something they ain't. You want to be a corporation and you want everybody else to be one too. I don't want to produce shit. I don't care if I don't produce shit. I don't care if my kids don't produce shit. But I do care if they receive their benefit. And I told all my kids, don't work for nobody that ain't offering you a benefit. Don't work for no business, no corporation. If they don't offer retirement or fucking pay for your medical or your dental or any of that shit, do not take it. These entry-level jobs are bullshit. They're entry-level into fucking servitude, into slavery, into that mindset that makes you want to be productive. Production is only for producers, and producers are slaves. You know what I'm saying? You don't cherish the produce, you devour it. Because guess what? You can always get more. You can't get no trees. The trees, the only way you can get these trees is if you wait for a period of time till they grow. You don't benefit from the tree until they get to a certain size. Same thing with people. You don't have people out there fucking just doing anything. It takes time for them to grow, and you need to grow in an environment that you're going to benefit from. These government jobs, y'all need to get them. Y'all black people, y'all need to tell y'all kids, stop going to college to get these fucking STEM jobs and create fucking something. That's for them. That's for these other cultures, other races. That's why they're better at it than us. We live in a nation of wealth, and the wealth belongs to us. The only way we're going to get it is if we recognize that it belongs to us, that we deserve it. That don't mean fucking going out there and screaming about somebody else's shit and talking about culture when you don't even know what culture is. Half the motherfuckers talking about culture don't know what culture is. And when you got etymology online right there to tell your dumbass what culture is, but they still fall for it because they like the way it sounds. I want to be called an Indian, not just any old Indian. I want to be called a chief, you dummy. You don't realize a chief ain't nothing but a foreman, right? And an Indian ain't nothing but a worker. You want to be a foreman and a worker, which all you do is manage workers all day. That's work. I don't want to deal with none of that shit. I want to sit back, do whatever the fuck I want to do, wake up when I want to, and get a paycheck every month for the rest of my life. Because this system is not going away. This system was created at the same time humans was created. And y'all can think what y'all want to think, thinking that this shit started in 1776, and it started way before that. The whole reason why 1776 happened was because the system that was already set up. The system is creation. So motherfuckers better get on board. I'm telling y'all, they're going to get left behind. Imagine a whole nation of people displaced in the next 100 years. All y'all black people over here claiming India, y'all going to be in India. All your offspring. All right, buddy. All your offspring. You better claim where you at. You better claim where you at. Don't be claiming that Indian shit, man. That shit ain't got nothing for you. Ain't nobody that claim that they're Indian got anything for claiming that they're Indian. Not even acceptance from the other Indians. See? All you get when you claim that you're Indian is just a title. That's it. A title with no reward. It's like winning a boxing match. Let's say you Tyson, you won the championship, and all you got was that fucking fake ass belt. That fake gold, fake silver, the belt. No money, just the belt. You know what I'm saying? Would you fucking go through all that shit for that? Just that belt? Can't sell that belt for shit. See? And that's what we're going through. We're going through it as a people. And other groups of people are laughing at us, man. White people laughing at us. Jewish people laughing at us. The people that know what being an Indian is laughing at us. They call us culture vultures. You know why? Why would they call you a culture vulture in your own land? Because by claiming Indian, you claiming India, and you ain't from there. So you claiming they land. These people are from India, and they don't even call themselves Indians. The Native Americans are from India, and they don't even call themselves Indians. The little story that they told us about Christopher Columbus, that he made a mistake. He thought that he was in India. That was a story that was telling you, dummy. He made a mistake on calling these people that. And now we making the same fucking mistake. I'm Cherokee. I'm Choctaw. I'm an Inno-Operator. Nigga, you just like saying weird ass words. That's all you like to say, weird ass words. And you know what I am? You know who I'm gonna point out? All the fucking fake ass abos, aboriginals, and Indians. I can name them all. From fucking Aboriginal Power all on down to Sister Bethy. All them motherfuckers are fakes. They frauds. Ain't shit real about them. They found out about the charters, and now they want to get a piece of it. Because it ain't nothing but money just sitting there. You ain't smart enough to get a piece of it. You got people charging, you got Mike TV charging people $50 to $75 to go on Ancestry, because he got an Ancestry account, to look up people's names on old ass fucking census papers and census rolls. And people are paying him for that. And what are they getting after they find that shit out? Oh, my people were part of the Cherokee, so we need to go over there and claim the Cherokee land. But the Cherokee ain't got no land. Them motherfuckers on a reserve. They on a piece of land that when the government say it's time for your dumb ass to move, they got to get the fuck out. So guess what? Mike TV right along with him. I'm subscribed to the brother. I like listening. I like supporting my people. You see what I'm saying? Even if they are sabotaging themselves, I'll support them. Because I can't help what I am. I can't help who they are. But they are some sabotagers. They dragging everybody down this road because they benefiting from it. You ain't going to benefit from it. Ask Mike TV if he part of a tribe. And if he says, I'm a card-holding tribes member, guess what? He started his own charter where he's at. He can benefit off of that. You know why? Because everybody in the tribe is now a tax-deductible fucking dependent. A little baby. Mike can turn all y'all into babies. Same thing with Sister Bethy. Same thing with all these clowns that's doing fucking Aboriginal and Indian fucking work. Because they're not doing American work. So, hey man, let's start the year off right. Let's keep it real. Let's start the year off right. Let's call a spade, a fool, and an Indian a dummy. That's what they is. They dummies. Y'all need to go. And if you ain't working right now, and if you want to work, I'm going to tell you right now, all these side hustles and shit, you know, that people get to make money, that they be like, oh yeah, I can make a living off of this. I could work for myself. You ain't doing shit but slaving. So what? You ain't got to answer to nobody. You got to answer to that clock. You got to answer to that clock, nigga. Just like everybody else that's on this virtual plantation got to answer to it, except for a select few. A select few. Even being on YouTube is a job. You know, you got to make videos. The motherfuckers tell you if you want to be popular, you better go out and you need to make 3 videos in a week. And yeah, man, they're putting you on the clock. So don't look at this, man. Look, to sit back and collect a paycheck for not even farting for the company, nigga, is a benefit. Think about it, man. You exchanging your time for shit that's not gonna benefit you when you old. Don't do that. And you know how much money you have to make and save, bro, in order to fucking not work from the time that you 50 to 60, right? You still got about 50 years. If you take care of yourself, you got about 50 healthy years. Now you think you can make enough money, put it aside, and collect the interest off of it so you can get a paycheck, and live off of? If you can do that, hey, more power to you, man. More power to you. I respect that. Because you did it without your benefit. But if you can't do that and you see that that's not possible, you're going to exchange your time anyway for something that will do it or won't do it, then you just being a fool. Because I'm telling you, working for 20 years and then getting a paycheck for the rest of your life for doing nothing, bro, that's like the ultimate passive income. Stop letting these people tell you that you're a fool for working these jobs that benefit you for the rest of your life after you retire. Because all the foreigners doing it. And this is your country. You might as well fucking take it back. So with that being said, fuck all the retards. Peace to the knowledgeable. And salute to the real ones.